We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, dude. There's some Nephilim.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave. These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us modern day slaves. And everybody's just walking around, head in the clouds, and won't awaken to a dead in the grave. But then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days.
Everybody is slaves, only some are aware that the government releasing poison in the
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nephilim Death Squad. I am David Lee Corbo, a.k.a. The Raven. That is TopLobsta, the father of disinformation.
We blapping at you fast and hard this morning.
Blap,
We're ready.
blap, blap, blap. Before we get started, a little reminder sometime around the 30-minute mark, we're going to go live exclusively to patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. And it is, dare I say, the most bang for your buck when it comes to any website ever in the history of humanity. Is that bold? Is that a bold? Is that too far?
It's close.
Show up and get your content holes blacked, baby. We are, the content is flowing and people are really happy over on Patreon. And that makes me happy. All kinds of things, ad-free viewing experiences, early access to episodes, as well as early access to Bohemian Grove tickets when they drop, and merchandise.
Did you take, I was going to show the shirt again. Did you steal my shirt?
I thought that was my shirt. You gave it to me.
Incredible.
You
dude.
asked me what size I was over and over again.
And you said fat. And
no, I said medium, and then you had me on speakerphone, and I heard everybody laugh.
Today is going to be a great episode. We have another recurring guest.
He came back again.
Came back again.
Especially when people of this caliber come back, I'm like, what's going on? How do they keep not realizing
Welcome,
that this is
Topher
a
Gardner,
bad move?
to the stage. What's up, brother? It's good to see you again.
How are you, man?
It's great seeing you guys. I'm laughing at you guys every day, so I'm happy to be back here.
I love it. Before we get into the conversation, Topher, let's tell everybody your websites, where they can find you, what it is you do, and then we'll get into it.
My regular website's topherhq.com. That's where I have all my construction and body work. I guess you would say the CV on me. And then this weekend, I'm speaking at the Terrainology conference in Westchester, New York, where I'll be getting into biochar, which is what we're going to talk about today.
That's actually what we were supposed to talk about last time, but we got chatty and then we never got around to it. So I'm excited to talk about that and a few other things. I know you were talking about calendar gravy. That's how it was phrased to me.
And it's crazy because I'm looking at the list of people here. And I'm like, none of these people would ever talk to us on the show. And Topher's like number 2.
Topher's going to have to not tell anybody what he was doing just before he got to this conference. He's going to have to keep that, play that close to the chest.
No. That's the thing is, like, I go to all these serious conferences and talk about scientific stuff because I do have a professional life and career. But I love to laugh. And you guys right now are like, you guys are crushing it with your pod. So I just love listening to you. So this is all good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. He's like, I like to talk to the simpletons first, and then we go and talk to the scientists. So, all right, because we talked a lot about, we plugged a lot about biochar last episode, never got around to it. Where do you want to start on this conversation? What is biochar?
Biochar, I was telling you guys pre-roll, is like the Lexus of carbon. So a lot of people know charcoal. Like when you go to a store, you can buy the charcoal briquettes, or you can buy something called lump coal. And what that is, it's essentially where they take woody material and they cook it at a low temperature, and they cook it over a period of time. They let it off gas, and then you're left with just the carbon matrix of it. Where biochar differs from charcoal is we cook that woody material or any biomass. We cook that in a very, very low oxygen environment. And then when you don't have the oxidative stress of oxygen heating up, it changes the magnetic characteristic of the carbon. And that's what makes it special is that biochar is essentially like millions upon, well, quadrillions of molecules of graphene. And we've all heard of what graphene is when it comes to computers and superconductors and things like that. But
Being injected into you, activating MK Ultra shooters. Yes. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
but graphene is nature's superconductor. It's something that happens, like I said, with fires that have a low oxygen level, and you get like a certain level of biochar, and a certain amount of that has this graphene, and it acts as a superconductor because one of the coolest things it does is when water trickles over it, water structures to its highest state. And I know that you guys have been doing, you just had your, you guys are just getting into the water gravy now, and did a documentary on your friend's well. Water, when it's highly, highly structured, is essentially a superconductor also. And what that means is it can send a signal and receive a signal at zero latency, which means that there's no waiting and there's no energy loss. So now this is where like my biochar career and my body work career are combined, because I'm trained in myofascial release. And in myofascial release, we know that we have this fascia that's over all of our muscle. And that fascia is like this very, very thin, semi-permeable layer of tissue that structures water. And that water, that's Gerald Pollack calls that water, it's essentially a gelatin at that point. It becomes a form of your blood plasma. And that's actually what they're finding out to be our true nervous system.
Oh, that's
So,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, because there's zero latency. Didn't you, like, as an athlete, didn't you guys always wonder, like, how is it that like athletes can react, or like they can have premonitions that are faster than light? But yet we're given this billiard ball model of life, where, oh, this atom does this, and then this molecule does this, and then there's this like chain reaction effect. And it's absurd the way that we're given the model of our biology, and also now in agriculture. um, Signals are almost instantaneous, and the only way that they're instantaneous is through and structured carbon. So both of my professions really deal with structuring those two things, and they
So
work.
just to
They work.
clarify here, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have something schizophrenic
He's not
kicking around my
sorry.
mind. So is a better conductor of frequency, and you're saying that it is there is less latency in versus just your run of the mill.
Yes.
When you think about let's say like a creek or a river, where does that fall on the scale of like water quality?
It really depends on the creek or the river. So, and when you study the likes of like a Victor Schauberger, he was actually kicked out of he was pulled into the Third Reich by Hitler, and he really pissed off Hitler because he was really mad that they were trying to straighten the Rhine River. Rhine is the German word for gold. And the way the Rhine River used to be, it used to be like it used to meander like every healthy real river did. And Victor Schauberger is like, your Reich won't last 1,000 years. It might last 10. And I think he said that to him in 1935, which was really kind of funny.
That's
And
prophetic,
so
yeah.
he was like the world's preeminent hydrologist. And so what he shows is that rivers are like, in our day and age, most rivers are really shallow and wide because they've degraded. There's
Mm.
so many different things that we've done in our environment, first of which is glyphosate, that has really degraded how water has become this prime oxidizer because it has so many pollutants in it, and it has so many different, it's called condensation nuclei. It's just the easiest way to say little particles. These little particles within the water cause the water to be highly reactive. They call it juvenile. And so what occurs then is we get like flash floods in Texas, or we get these what they're calling atmospheric rivers. And the reason why people are saying this is a new phenomenon is because, in a way, the hydrological cycle has been broken by all these little particulates that are changing the very nature of the water as it is. So
Is
that's
this
why
unanimous across the country, like
it's across the
various
world.
rivers and creeks across the world?
It's across the world. I've lived on 4 continents. I lived in the Indian subcontinent. I lived in Europe. I lived in Central America, and I lived in North America. In every country, it's problematic. That's why I
That's
like. I don't. I know that there's nowhere to run because I've already run there. So, um, yeah, even like the most pristine jungle rivers are all. What's the main thing that they talk about in Costa Rica is that all your quebradas and your streams and things like that, they're all like taking away. They're literally degrading the banks of the river because of this juvenile water. So this is why we have so much runoff in the ocean. Like when you look at the Mississippi Delta, like when you see the satellite photos or the Satelloon photos of it, it's just this plume of clay that's out there in the Gulf of Mexico. And it's mainly because the Mississippi River Valley has the highest concentration of glyphosate in the world. And glyphosate is a water soluble chemical. And what it does is it doesn't allow mineral uptake to the plants. That's why it kills plants. It was originally called Roundup, Roundup ready crops, all this stuff. They're using glyphosate. So you have this hyper aggressive water and it just scrubs everything. It's like it's a perfect mechanism to show us that we're messing up. So
How
that's
long
why
can you trace this back to? Like, as far as when were they not rich in glyphosate?
Well, it's like this has to
86.
be.
It was
86.
1986.
Damn, that was very specific.
Oh, I was gonna guess like the agricultural era because that's when we kind of were.
No, they
You know,
they introduced glyphosate in a very big way. Our good friends that used to be called Monsanto.
Oh yeah, shout out
I,
Monsanto.
I forget when exactly it was created. It was some chemical used for warfare, and they're like, this doesn't allow for mineral uptake, and let's use it for killing weeds. And then obviously they started genetically modify everything so that they could spray it. And now in the United States, the epidemic of obesity is because people are starving. And the reason why they're starving is calories don't actually give us anything. What occurs is in most of the food that's prepared in the United States, especially anything that's a grain based, they spray it with glyphosate to quote unquote dry it or desiccate it. And so the human population and the animal population in the United States, I think, is like number 3 on the list in the world for glyphosate intake. The only thing that's saving our bacon is the fact that we have so much land. But I came from the country that had the second highest glyphosate intake, which was Costa Rica. The first is Colombia. And they sell these chemicals because now we don't have young men work in the fields. Like all the work that young men used to do, like in the agrarian society, glyphosate has replaced. Glyphosate is the chopper, is the machete man out on the side of the road. Glyphosate's the one that's, instead of pulling all your grains out to dry by the sun, they spray it with a chemical. And so this epidemic of glyphosate creates so many problems in humans because once we get a certain concentration of glyphosate in our body, we get leaky gut. We can't absorb our minerals and things like that. And when we can't absorb, what occurs, the body goes, I'm starving. So anytime it does get something, it holds on to it. And that's why we have this ballooning population. And you're seeing it now all over the world. It used to be just America, but when I lived in Central America, it was happening. I started to see it happening in Europe, even though Europe has like a much more higher standards when it comes to glyphosate-free food over there. Now they're slowly creeping in there too. So it's a real problem, and that's why I've dedicated my life to doing biochar, because biochar remediates glyphosate. Like when you have water that has any type of glyphosate in it, the charge, that diamagnetic charge of the biochar, and like I said earlier, it's different than charcoal. That diamagnetic charge will essentially attract the glyphosate molecules into the center of the carbon matrix because the biochar is extremely porous, and it just locks it there because of its charge.
I want to talk more
Wait,
about.
let me ask you real quick.
Go ahead.
Shut up, David.
Fair enough.
Okay. Sorry to be rude, but shut up.
Unbelievable.
Is this available for sale? Is your biochar available? Because I
Yeah.
have okay. Is it compatible with I know I have a charcoal filter for my
Mhm.
drinking water. Is it compatible with like
It's
you
the
know, the
best.
standard?
Yeah. So most charcoal filters, they're kind of disgusting now because they only put like 5 or 6% of the filter is charcoal. Most of it's plastic. So you're having to deal with microplastics.
What?
So
Dude, that's
yeah,
why my balls feel that way.
They're just
yeah.
very heavy, filled with microplastics. When you get in the pool, they float up.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like the microplastic thing is a real thing. And so like yeah, Brita, I think this was the last time I looked at the percentages was a few years ago. It might have changed. But Brita, I think they're Brita water filters, which is like the most commonly. It's like when people are first starting to get into, water filtration, they'll buy their Brita filter.
Yeah.
Those filters are like 3 or 4% carbon, and it's
So
not
it
even
feels
good.
like the point is to fill you with
Well,
microplastics.
my wife has brought
My wife.
a good one. I don't know what type, but it's not the Brita one. She was like, "This is bullshit."
Yeah.
But she got some sort of charcoal based one because we don't
Yeah.
know what Biocharisma is. That's why we're doing the show right now to
Yeah.
figure out what. All right, so real quick,
I've
where can I buy it?
Yeah. I have a whole. Well, you can go onto my website. We sell the agricultural stuff right now at topherhq.com. But I'm releasing my next website that has all of our different biochar products will be up within 4 to 5 weeks. And so
Mm.
I'm really excited about that because we will have the filtration grade biochar. We will have I call it AIDS face cream.
Oh my God.
We were looking
Yeah,
for. I want to be Colin Kaepernick for Halloween, so like I figured maybe we could use some of that. I'll
dude,
put
you
my hair
don't need
back.
the blackface AIDS though, because that boy is, bro.
And they're
boy
the same color. They're literally
Yeah,
the same color.
Yeah,
There's not even a
you don't
difference in
need
shade.
you don't need no blackface AIDS, bro. Like,
That's what I'm
so,
saying.
yeah.
I want to ask you this, Topher. Going back to the glyphosate and sort of the impact that it has on our produce. I'm wondering if there's a connection because I say this on the show often. It's like I will drop a piece of fruit, let's say, and I will notice that the bugs simply won't touch it, which is alarming
yeah,
because
some fruit they don't.
and I thought it was
touch.
because maybe the bug populations have decreased, but I'll watch them. If you see a palmetto bug dead on the sidewalk, or like the other day, there was a dragonfly that was dead in the
They
parking
eat
lot.
'em, yeah.
They swarm that thing and completely decimate it. But they won't touch an apple. And I'm like,
Right.
well, what the hell's going on with the apples? Why am I eating the apples? And
The
and
apple.
the blapples, and they're not eating the blapples. So is there a correlation there? Is it a
Definitely.
glyphosate issue? Okay, please, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the sovereign food movement for 15 years, and essentially what that movement it's people that understand the only way that you can control your inputs is if you grow it yourself. There's no large distribution network that is giving you food that's of high quality. It's part of the reason why my family we moved to the Ozarks because the Ozarks has the highest calorie per density of any land in the world. Like whether it's the deer, the cattle, the pig, all the different berries you can grow here, all the different fruits you can grow here. It's literally like this mecca of like incredible food that you can get, and it doesn't have to go that far. One of the reasons why I left South Florida was when I did live there last was in the early 2000s. There was a lot of hurricanes, and
Mm.
what you saw with the hurricanes, at least in South Florida, was that they call it the just-in-time system. The just-in-time food delivery system, you have any one of the like I-95 or I-75 get truncated, you don't get food down in South Florida. And unless you're a fisherman, now all the riverways, like when I was growing up, we could fish for bass and gar and carp and do all those things. And even back then in the 80s, it was like, I don't know if I'm going to eat that because there was all the runoff from the
Yeah.
golf courses and things like that. Well, now it's like so much worse. Like the algae blooms and all the different things that they got going on there. When the water ultra oxidizes, this sounds like a sort of backwards. It loses its oxygen level because the oxygen, when it does its chemical reaction, it actually dissipates. It changes its chemical formula, and so you get these like this water that's like really low oxygen and low in life. So all the animals and things like that are really sick in it. So South Florida was like this. I was just looking at the tea leaves and I was like, there's no food density here. So I moved to Costa Rica thinking, oh, we can grow anything in the tropics. And then what you come to find out is what you pointed out, David, is like you grow anything organic and the bugs eat it.
Yeah.
Oh no. So I could see why, like, I'm not one of these like, Bible thumpers in agriculture to say, oh, how dare they use the chemicals. As there's been less and less people to tend to agriculture just through social programming and social engineering, we don't have the hands to do things organically.
Dude, I grew some watermelons out here and they were nice and I couldn't even keep the bugs off them. The grapes, I kind of like, what the
You got to get some glyphosate. What are you supposed to do? That's an interesting.
I don't know what to do. What does Owen do?
What do you do?
What does Matt do?
This is the thing. You have to eat seasonally, and you have to move to an area and tend to your soil. So the big problem ever since the Dust Bowl that occurred in the 30s in the United States is the fact that our soil quality is really, really low. When I lived in Belgium, it was amazing because I lived out in the countryside near the border of France, and they had the most amazing wildflowers, and the soil was like so deep there, because there wasn't
like
that
black soil.
Black soil. And I had been making biochar for a few years, but I didn't have nearly the amount of organics that they had in their soil, and like the amount of different bees and things like that, where it just blew my mind. Here in the Ozarks, you can tell this land has been abused. Like learning about how when they were doing all the land grants and things like that for people, they would give them 40 acres. They would just kill that 40 acres and move on to another 40 acres. And they just kept doing that and doing that and doing that. And so there's a lot of just bad practices because of whatever, there's umpteen factors. So
like monocropping, for example, is one of those factors, right? That can really destroy a plot for a long time.
Yeah, monocropping. Like I'm talking with this group out of Iowa. The big thing is just like not allowing your different areas to go fallow. Like nature has this wonderful way of taking care of itself if you just let it. If you just like take the foot off the gas. But there's constant growth economy thing that's always need to make a profit, and people getting in debt and then having to do all the things that you have to do to get out of debt. It just causes a lot of compromises to the land. So my answer to all this, like my last name is Gardner. And I never thought when I was a kid.
That's kind of funny, yeah.
I never thought I would get into gardening. Like I never, like my dad did it, and my stepmother owned a Thai restaurant. So I was like growing like hot peppers and like lychee nut, certain fruits in South Florida. That was cool. But like to me, I was like gardening, farming, that's whatever. Now I really see that the way to the future to actually ensure that you have good food, at least it's like I tell people, you want to be able to sleep in a really nice environment. Like if you're going to take care of your house, like take care of your bedroom. So when you rest. And then I also like, okay, if you're going to take care of your homestead, let's say everybody should treat their home as a homestead. Have a garden where at least a few of your inputs are completely cultivated with care and love, and your body will respond to that.
That's interesting. I wonder what, if any, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but I was talking to my wife about it this morning, and she's always she's never like feeling well, and lately I haven't been feeling well. But
it's the poisons is working.
The poison's working, and I'm wondering, like, what, if any, frequency plays a role in this, because we'll have people on this show and they'll go, it was never what they said it was. It was 5G towers. It was this and that. And even in this area where it's pretty rural, you know, you drive not very far, 15 minutes away, and you're dealing with a lot of farmland. But still, these like 5G towers are erected, these giant eyesores everywhere. And it's just like, from the soil and the quality of the food that we're eating to, you know, potentially whatever they're spraying. This is something we talk about often. It's a multi-layered, you'd be hard pressed to say it's not by design and it's not an attack. And then you have like this kind of potential that we're subjected to. And if frequency really can have this like dire effect on your health, is this all like a big weaponized movement, or is this just an organic result of expedience and, you know, this profits over kind of I don't know, the future stability of things?
I think it's the culmination. I think it's the crescendo of the Pisces age. So, like,
Oh,
when you
interesting.
think of the age of Pisces, Pisces is the 12th house. It rules the 12th house, and the symbol is two fish swimming, like in a yin yang. And when you come to know the Pisces element, it's mutable water. Mutable means permeable. It means sensitive. It means something like that. And that's the trend I see across all vectors, is permeability. Whether your psychology is permeable because of all the MK Ultra stuff, whether your physiology is permeable because of all the different glycogen, the one of the main amino acids that your body uses to make your muscles and your tissues, is being replaced by glyphosate. Like,
Hmm.
molecularly, they're almost the same thing. So you're becoming more permeable physically, you're becoming more permeable psychologically, you're becoming more permeable, spiritually. And that's when you meet unhinged Pisces. That's the way they seem. Like, you could talk to a Pisces, and if they're unhinged a little bit, they're literally like 12 different people in one.
Oh,
It's like
that's
a
interesting.
it's like a schizo without being a schizo. It's like, because they're literally they're constantly in the mode of change. And so that's we're in the Piscean age. We had the sun rises in in the like when we have our spring equinox, the sun is rising in front of Pisces. Like, that's what's happening. And that's how we determine the age we're in. And I think we still have like a few hundred years left in Pisces, if our star charts are correct. And so I really think that that's what we're experiencing as a collective, more or less, is we're all kind of melding and melting into each other. It's like, you ever see that movie Annihilation?
No, I've never seen that one. Have you?
No.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah. It's what's that Jewish actress that they put her in every movie? They're trying to make her a sex symbol.
Oh, I think I know
Um,
what you're talking about, but it was an all-female cast or something, and I was like, simply
yeah,
can't do it.
it's an all-female cast, but the end of the movie, essentially, it's about this alien energy that comes in, and what it does is it blends all genetics. Like, spoiler alert. All genetics become one genetic thing, and it shows at the end of the movie. It's Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman, shout out El Dorado. Yeah, and I was like, they're dealing with the end of the world, but they're giving us 90-pound white women again, or Jewish women
Yeah.
or whatever. And I'm like, I can't, because they keep doing that. They're like, shit is going awry,
So you're
and
saying-
the only ones that can save us are these sub 100-pound women.
They're blending everything in an alien type of genetics program.
This alien, it's kind of like the three-eye atlas thing. Like, there's this meteor that strikes, I think, in like Nantucket or something like that. And what they start to see is all these genetic mutations going everywhere. So they send in this crack team of 90-pound Jewish girls to take care of
I
it.
just can't do it. I can't watch it, man. I checked because it was getting like good reviews, and it was kind of everywhere. You know, like every time I turned on something, it was like, you should watch Annihilation. And I'm like, whoa, what an intense sounding. And then you look at it, and it's just like they're in like fatigues, like, you know, like kind of like
no.
gear, you know, they're all geared
Yeah.
up. and they're surviving the end of the world. But yeah, all of them are 93, 94, 95 pound women. And I'm like, I can't.
Isn't this like the real story of what Katy Perry just did? Is this the truth?
When she went to space?
I think so.
Well, she went to or whatever she did. I don't know. I don't know what she did. She did a
Blue
ritual.
Origin.
Yeah, she did a ritual. She wore her Baphomet logo or whatever, and then Jeffrey Bezos opened the door twice, and it was like a big, I don't know. It was a weird ritual.
Wait. So finish telling us about this. I need to know now.
So in Annihilation, I don't think the people who wrote this were consciously thinking of it, but Annihilation is like the worst case scenario for the Pisces energy, because Pisces, when it's unhinged, it just is constantly changing and it can't ever stay static. It can't ever have a baseline. It's like, you build my church on this rock, that you build that on something stable. Well, the worst case scenario for the unhinged Pisces, it's just constantly morphing, and it can never find its internal throughput line. And this movie Annihilation shows that on a physical level, because at the end, Natalie Portman starts to morph, and they show her changing into everything, and then so much so that she changes into a simulacrum of herself in a different time.
Natalie Morphman. Sorry, I'm sorry. So sorry.
Don't encourage this.
Did you enjoy the movie? Like, was it a decent piece of?
No, it was pretty dull, but I like the concept. Like, I like the concept of like the ending was the best part of it. Like, if you just watch that end sequence where she comes in contact with the thing. And like, because the whole movie is like, they're not understanding why they're seeing all this genetic, I guess you would say cross-pollination. And then finally, when she becomes this other thing, and then that morphs back into herself to kind of inject into the world, had a very same feeling as of the movie Ex Machina. When you see
that was a weird one.
Like how you feel at the end of Ex Machina, you're like, oh, okay, now the bot is out there in the world and nobody will know. Like, they did the same thing. Now there's this 93-pound Jewish girl that's back in the world and nobody will know it's an alien,
That's interesting. By the way, the 3i Atlas thing, just a quick update, apparently disappeared. So they're tracking it, and then like somewhere by Jupiter, it just vanishes. And what that looks like is in an ocean of little white lights, this one little white light that's moving very slowly, all of a sudden just kind of isn't there anymore. And so I don't know what that means.
Good news.
Good news, I guess. Yeah.
No, that means extra nefarious intentions, guys. Extra. It has a cloaking device now. It's like a Klingon mothership, and it's cloaking.
It has to turn off its light apparatus in order to charge its murder laser.
Oh yes.
And then that process will take till about October 30th, in which they will launch that murder laser. The lights will turn on and will be evaporated. I don't know what's going on. We're getting a lot of that because it's interesting that concept exists within Annihilation, and we do seem to be. I don't know where we are in the whole, because some people are like, oh, now we're in the age of Aquarius, and I don't know star maps.
No.
But the idea that we're at the end of the age of Pisces, or we're moving into this new thing, and it's like heralded by this like celestial event or a plethora of celestial events that we keep getting bukkakied with. I don't know where to put it, but it's like we have the 3i Atlas thing, and then there's another one that if like that doesn't laser us into dust, what is it called? There's another one that's maybe possibly going to pass through the keyhole.
Well, all right, listen, we're in outer space.
I just like Topher has like a cool opinion on everything.
Topher has expertise on like what's happening here too.
Like, well, yeah, he has and also star maps, and you know how we feel about
I want to ask him about the clouds. Can we
okay, fine. We have to kick the pores out though, because they're watching and it's gross and we can feel it and it's not a good feeling. So guys, if you want to keep watching and you're not poor, go to patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. Otherwise, give it about a week or so. This episode will drop and then you can enjoy it in all of your poor dirtiness.
And check out Terrainology.
Terrainology.com.
That's tomorrow. He's going to be on tomorrow.
Yes.
So go support him. All right, let's kick them out. Are you a fan of Shane Cashman's idea about the cloud? Because it seems black pilling. Like
Black pilling. Oh, you're talking about like cloud seeding?
no. If we have this water runoff and then it's absorbed into the clouds and then it's rained onto other areas, like what hope is there to stop this proliferation of glyphosate? Is there a way to stop it, or is it like are you just battling it by using like a
Biochar. Well, I don't want to get ahead of his
magnetics?
answer, but I have a feeling it's going to be like you can only take accountability within the things that you can kind of touch around you. But as far as a large scale system, I don't know if there's any reversing that. What do you think, Topher?
Well, specifically from a scientific level, the glyphosate is a water soluble chemical. So what that means is water spreads it. And so it's everywhere. There's no place on Earth. They've even found it like when they've done like samples of water in either Arctic area. Like it's everywhere. It's just like chemtrails are ubiquitous because chemtrails, as we know now, I've had Jim Lee on my podcast a bunch, where most of what we call a chemtrail is just pollution from jets. Like right now, we have 4 times the amount of air travel that we did in the 80s. So, like, people don't understand how much people are flying. And all air travel across the world, as I understand it, is actually subsidized by the world governments. So that lets you know that whoever is pulling the purse strings is saying, hey, we need people up in the air. So I'm not saying that the pollution that's coming from planes is completely innocuous. They changed the jet fuel in 96 to put in all these chemicals that we know of that like, oh, there's this and that, and there's aluminum and blah, blah, blah. That's all in the jet fuel. And as somebody that studies soils, a lot of times when you have bad soil, it's because it's aluminum silicate. That's what the soil actually is. Bauxite soil, which is probably the most prevalent red. If you've seen red dirt anywhere near you, that red dirt is aluminum silicate. Well, when it dries and you drive over it, guess what? It gets lighter than air and it gets sucked up into the atmosphere. So a lot of what people are saying, oh, it's raining aluminum on us. A lot of that's just, soil that's being spread through the hydrological cycle. And then also you have this other pollution that's being put up there with all this extra air travel. Like, I grew up in South Florida, and in like the late 90s, I mean, there was like this proliferation of small airports with private jets. Like when I was a kid, that wasn't that way. Like I had my best friend, his dad owned a jet fuel company, and there was one airport, one in the Fort Lauderdale area that had private jets. Now there's like 7. So like there's a lot of these smaller planes. I have a lot of clients that are jet pilots that fly very, very high in the sky. When they're flying higher in the sky, they're flying in zones that have colder temperatures, and they proliferate pollution. So most of what we see up in the sky is pollution. But they have this other thing called cloud seeding, which, by the way, biochar has been used in cloud seeding forever. They call it carbon black, but they'll take biochar and they'll make it really, really small. They'll like get it down almost to the nano level. And then they'll put that in the air because of its charge. It will float in the air, and they can steer hurricanes. They can steer very, very large hurricane system, or not just hurricane, cyclonic, meaning spinning weather systems in directions.
And this is because of its high like conductivity?
Yeah, that, and it holds the diamagnetic charge, reverses the polarity of whatever's prominent. So usually in nature, things flow from high pressure to low pressure. Like they say, water always rolls downhill. Well, it's the same thing with pressure gradients and systems. This is actually when I was on Sam Tripoli's tinfoil hat. That's what I was talking to him about. Is like you can steer a system by just changing the pressure gradient, and you can catalyze a pressure gradient by using these very small materials that hold a charge. So like a few years ago, there was this like in your guys' area, you guys were about to get hit like with a Category 5 hurricane, and then it just steered. It went north. I forget how many years ago that was. Well, it was very big on the news that they took the guy that had been talking about weather modification for all these years. When he died, they went ahead and made ashes of his body, and
What?
they spread it out in front of that hurricane.
They sprayed the weather modification guy in front of
Yeah.
the hurricane.
What the hell are you saying to us right
That
now,
is the
man?
most insane thing. What part of his family was like,
yeah.
grind him up into dust and toss him in
But
front
it
of a
worked.
hurricane?
But it worked.
Well, here's the thing. Who knows if it was a LARP or whatever, if that was their wink, wink, nod, nod, like, hey, look, we can steer these things. Like, I don't know for certain whether or not that was done. That was just what was being put out there.
I
But
love that idea.
But the truth of the matter is that these small little particulates can get lighter than air, just like I was talking about with the bauxite clay. Like if you lived in any rural area during the summer when it's super dry and you drive over you'll get this haze in the air, right? And that will lift. And like where I lived in Costa Rica, you had 3 months of the year where you just had this haze. And it was gross. It was during the dry season. And that was just all the bauxite clay just kind of hanging in the air because of its charge. So when it comes to taking care of your food and like whether or not you can only do what you can do, and you shouldn't worry about the you can't do anything about. Sorry if I
Yeah.
cursed.
No, well, it's a Christian show, and I appreciate that.
But the thing
Go ahead,
is like if you can have a little garden, like almost everybody I know has a hoop house. Anybody can do a hoop house, like a small little hoop house. That way, the rain that's coming down isn't like, toxifying your plants. Because especially in areas like where you guys are in Central Florida, you have so many planes that fly over.
Yeah.
Like, so you're getting pollution. But what I do is like I have a rain catchment on my house. I just have these little biochar filters where the rain runs through the biochar filter. And then I use the filtered rain, in my gardens. So it's not a big deal. That's one of the reasons why I try and teach people about biochar, is because like anybody can make biochar, or you can buy biochar, and you just filter your water, and like likes like. So if you make really good water in your area, it starts attracting good water. I know that sounds very weird, but that is a thing that has been shown throughout the world. Even in the deserts of the Sahara, they'll start to put these like sinks of really high quality water out in these areas that haven't had water for 100 years. And then before you know it, all the weather systems and everything change to go ahead and start to support that good water being there.
How does one
Interesting.
make biochar?
So there's many different ways. I have my own rocket retort, which is probably like I said, that's like the Lexus level of making biochar. But you can do it as simply. Have you ever seen those smokeless fire pits?
With the ones with like the glass on it, like on the
Well, there's
bottom?
those that have gas, but then they have the smokeless fire pits that actually you have wood in them, and you light the wood on fire. And then because they have all these it's essentially a circle within a circle within a circle. The center circle has your fuel, and it has all these little ported holes in it. And those are like a pre-made gasifier. So the reason why they don't smoke is because they are pulling oxygen from the bottom, and they're porting that oxygen right over where you're getting the combustion. And
Mm.
it creates a very, very clean burn. Well, I tell people that don't want to make their own retort, or they don't want to buy from wherever, you just get one of those from Walmart. I think they sell them for like 100 or 150 bucks. You throw in some pellets, so you're not even thinking about it. You throw in some light wood pellets in there, and you light from the top, and you can be outside with your family. You can enjoy a little pit fire and stuff like that. And then right when it gets about a third, when there's a third left at the bottom, you just douse it with water, and that will give you perfect biochar.
So is the idea that because it's a smokeless fire, you don't have all this like carbon escaping?
Yes. Yeah. Smoke is just unburnt fuel. So a good fire, a good hot fire, has very little smoke because all of the consumables are being consumed, right? So what makes those wood fire gasifiers so cool, those little smokeless pits that people buy, so cool is it's giving you the right fuel to air mixture. Everybody that has ever had a car and, like the first thing when you're modifying an engine in a car is you want to like make sure the car breathes right. You'll hear all the car mod guys talking like, it needs to breathe right. It's because they want the air fuel mixture just to be right so that the combustion in the chamber, it's more catalyzed. It gives you more power. These like smokeless wood fire guys that you can just buy them. Like they're cheap, like they're very inexpensive, and they're stainless steel, so they'll last forever. You just put them outside, and everybody likes like sitting outside and like enjoying like a nice night and everything like that. And if you don't, you're but like
Hold on.
Facts. That's fair. That's very fair. Yeah, that's very fair.
You go outside, you enjoy the smokeless fire pit, and right when everybody's getting bored and want to go inside, watch a movie or whatever, you just douse that thing with water. You like completely douse it. And when you douse it with water, it stops that reaction. And then you
Yeah, dog,
end
but
up with
I need the good water before I could.
Oh, what if
No.
we douse it with the glyphosate water?
no,
Dude.
douse it with the glyphosate. So here's the beautiful thing about biochar. It is one of the most porous substances in the world. Like literally, if anything that grows is potential biochar. In fact, one of the reasons why I'm into the little season theory is because I know this is fun because
shirt.
this one fact. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Little Seasoners. There it is. Satan's last deception.
I need that shirt. That's awesome.
I'll send you
Honestly,
one.
it's growing on me. It's growing on me. I don't want to jump to any conclusion, but I the little season.
Check out this fact. Check out this fact. This is an amazing thing. So, across the world, have you ever heard of the science of stratigraphy?
No, I think you just made that up.
Pretty sure you just
made up a word, and I approve. It's fine.
Well, when you've heard of strata before, correct?
Yeah, meaning like sky. That's about as far
like
as
the
I get.
levels of the sky.
Levels of the earth. No, it's just levels
shit.
essentially. So stratigraphy is the study of the different levels of sediment.
I'm so sorry. He's gonna be he's gonna be talking with actual scientists like later today.
Yeah,
probably.
and he's like, they think strata is sky. It's
Look at these people,
yeah.
and he's here with us. But please continue. I'm so sorry,
God, man.
So in stratigraphy, they study the different sedimentary level layers, and it's not just sediment. There's also soil deposition and things like that. Well, on every continent of the world at the same time, well, from a stratigraphy perspective, it would be the same time. There's this layer of perfect biochar, and it's not carbon. It's not carbon. And so what have I already explained about biochar? To get biochar, you need a low oxygen environment. So how is it on every continent of the world can you have this same thickness layer of biochar everywhere? How is that possible?
You'd have to have a
large burning,
worldwide burning.
Yeah.
And in the world with fire.
What does it say in the Bible? It says the Lord will return with sintering heat.
And then everything is melted.
Do you know what sintering means?
Root word being cinder, so burn.
Sintering is a term that they use when they're making a magnet. So I did
making it up.
I did a series with, sintering can mean what you're saying, but specifically because I keep talking about diamagnetism relative to biochar. This is what
I'm gonna look it up.
Because he could be lying to us.
No, I don't think he's.
Yeah, sintering, I believe is spelled with a C because I know your guys' spelling. So
it's disrespectful, but yeah,
but it's accurate.
So
out facts.
When you sinter metal, you send a charge through it. You send like a very, very high voltage of electricity through the piece of metal, and then that piece of metal then becomes ferromagnetic. Ferro meaning metal, and magnetic meaning it has a pole on one side or the other. But it's caused by trauma. It's caused by trauma of electricity going through it, right? And so in the Bible, that's pretty specific that it uses the word centering. He also, in different versions of the Bible, it uses a different derivation of centering. But what they're saying is there was this heat that humans can't make. It's the heat of God comes. And guess what? We have proof, because guess what I have to do to make biochar, the good stuff?
You
I
gotta
have to
electrocute it.
I have to create an environment that's plasmatic, because plasma and electricity are very similar. Plasmatic in upwards of 2,000 degrees with very, very low oxygen. How can you do that in an open air environment? How is that
Oh,
Yeah,
how
that's
is that possible?
devastating.
well, you could if we have a firmament and it's not a. Oh man.
How a question? How deep is that? How many layers are above this?
Oh, would
This
that give an indication of time frame since then?
maybe I don't. Yeah,
I haven't looked at that part. I've looked at at first when I first was getting into biochar, it was because of the whole study of terra preta in the Amazon basin. And an agriculturist that I knew in Costa Rica, I was telling him my problems I was having on my farm, and he's like, "You should look into biochar. They call it terra preta." And because we're all Spanish speakers then, like I was looking into it and like, whoa, what's this thing going on in the Amazon? So they have their layer of like this incredible amount of black earth in the Amazon basin, but that was all man-made. Like they know
Right.
that was man-made because of the chop and drop system that the conquistadors were describing that they were doing. But this is different. This is literally in like areas of Africa, in India, in Europe, and in the United States. I don't know how many layers down it is. Like I don't even know, like, because I don't believe in the what they say is sedimentary deposit. Because now that we know how quickly things can petrify, like with that same plasma, you get instant petrification, by the way, depending on mineral content.
Which is interesting because then you look at all these things that are supposed to be like petrified trees or petrified giant flesh or petrified
Mhm.
whatever, and we're calling it mountains or cave systems or this and that, but it's like no, this is petrified X, Y, and Z.
Dudes, check this out. This is because I deal with charcoal. I deal with biochar. When you look at the veins of massive charcoal deposits, it mirrors, I mean, to the T, exactly a big tree's root system.
Ah, man. Okay. All right. So let me ask you this then. Um,
this is gravy.
so if because like I said, it gets a little bit more steel manned every time I hear it. And I have this like knee jerk reaction because of the people, the little seasoners. I get upset with them and I go, you, and then it makes me close minded. But every time I hear something, I go, another little feather in the hat of the little season. Um, what then do you think is happening when you see what appears to be prophetic, book of Revelation-esque happenings across the world stage? Do you think that these are purposeful emulations? In other words, someone is making a concerted effort to make things appear as if they are a fulfillment of Revelation
I guess like
prophecy.
another question is how sold are you on the little season? Like you're 100% in, or you're just kind of like,
If I'm gonna put on like my religious hat, like if I had to like pick a religion and say, okay, this religion is the most true, because I don't think any of them as they're stated is I literally like I'm 100% into the little season because I don't see the purity in any religion.
Mm,
There's true aspects. Like I'm almost 50, right? I turned 50 this year.
it's very
I
old.
remember the old timers when I was coming up, that they were talking about the prophecies that were being fulfilled. And then they were talking about the old timers that they knew that at the turn of the 20th century, the prophecies were being fulfilled.
Hmm.
And I had the smartest person I've ever met. She told me flat out, she's like, if you want to be a success in the world, do not listen to the doomsdayers, because every generation thinks its generation is the end. And I was like, And she's somebody that is a multi-millionaire, like beyond intelligent person. And so I think people have this secret desire to be special. And whether they want to know it or not, their nihilistic side, what I've seen with people that feel extreme guilt is that they love the get out of free jail card. They fucking love it. It's like, yes, we're the last. Like this last thing on the 23rd. Dude, there's all these videos that I'm just like, I feel so bad for those people in Africa that were believing that preacher, and they're out.
That's
and
right.
see
I had that queued up and I sent it to you. I don't think we got around to it though. And I didn't watch it because I wanted to watch it live on the show, but it was like, yeah, there's like a bunch of black people in the forest, like looking up and screaming like Jesus, and they're super pumped, but they're still here.
It is like it's an expedient way to go about life, right? Because you're like, I only got to get to this point and then it's going to be over anyway.
I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to deal with that. I don't got to
Yeah.
build anything. I just gotta
And dude,
exist.
I'm a builder. You guys have built in the past. Okay. And I've said this before, and I cannot stress this enough. And plus, I've built in third world countries. So the stories that we're given about men fighting a two-front war, they're homesteaders, and oh, they just have all this extra time to go mine limestone 400 miles away and then haul it on dirt roads. I literally lived in the jungle where I had to create a building system that was light because you cannot haul heavy stuff over mud roads.
Yeah.
You can't. You cannot. I don't give an F what anybody says. I know this as a fact. Every contractor that I'm friends with, we all know this. The very first thing that you take care of is ingress and egress to your building site. If you cannot get in or out, you're done. It's done. It's not even worth talking about. In fact, most of the time in contracts, you have that in your contract as the first stipulation with who you're building for, that they make sure that ingress and egress is completely taken care of at the owner's expense. So you're going to tell me literally the most indestructible buildings that would bankrupt states if they were to try and take them down. Like the city hall in Philadelphia, the city commissioner literally told the governor, we can't demolish this. It would bankrupt us. These buildings are so heavy and so well built, as my friend Paul Staub says, so overbuilt, that they can handle anything. First of all, who had the time, who had the wherewithal, who had the intelligence to build these perfect buildings that can handle what they handled? I'm telling you, I'm a 5'10" guy, right? I weigh 200 pounds. I'm decently strong. In my heyday, I was really strong as a pro athlete. You know what it takes to hang a door that weighs 100 pounds?
Yeah, dude. It's yeah.
So we see buildings all over the world where the doors are 15, 16 feet tall. I don't care how ornate, how prestigious the client is. He's the sultan of whatever. He's this or that. He wants a 20-foot door. I'm telling him to go fuck himself. You can't hang a 20-foot door. Who's hanging a 20-foot door? Who's making the hinges? Who's doing that? You guys know, you have the practical life experience. So what does practical life experience tell us? Practical life experience tells us men, after they do their work, they're not just sitting around hanging out saying, hey, let's go build a city hall. They're not hanging out saying, you know what? We only have 8 churches on this city block. We need another one over there where the steeple's even higher. Guys, come on. We're slacking. Especially when we're told that there wasn't like free food out there. Like now we go out and there's food everywhere. It wasn't like that. So we know people are lazy. We're not going to do that. We're just not. There was no level of wealth. And plus, when you go into some of these older structures, they are inspired. They are hand of God rains down. I think in our last conversation, we were talking about domes. I literally build this stuff and I
Mhm.
can't even come close. I tell my clients all the time, you can have whatever you want if you have the budget. And I've worked for some wealthy people. I'm like, yeah, we can do anything you want if I have the budget. Anything. Nobody's spending money like that. Like
Mm.
the adornments, the geometries, how great the stuff. I'm telling you, there was a population of people that had time, like a lot more time, that had a level of wealth, a level of aesthetic. And this to me sounds like they were in the presence of Jesus. Like
Hmm.
if I was to imagine myself in the presence of Jesus, I would know that everything is taken care of. I'm not a wage slave. The Father is the provider. I would know that balls to bones. And then I would be inspired. And then I would have the time. I wouldn't be worried about all of like the demonic whispers that we all suffer from now. And look, the proof is in the pudding, man. The proof is in the pudding. We can literally go physically and see every continent has this biochar layer. We know biochar only happens in a low oxygen environment. That was not a man-made thing. And how is
Well,
it on every continent? How is it every continent has quote unquote Greco-Roman construction?
mm.
And
This
we
became like a
know
little
like
season episode, and I'm like, now I'm just
Well, think
even more
about what he's laying out here is
yeah.
like, okay, it is so magnificent that one could go to speculations of the millennial reign
It's
being
funny
so
too.
divinely inspired.
As he's saying it, I'm thinking about Andrew Yang and universal basic income, but that would do the opposite. And it's
opposite.
like it's the inversion of like, well, if we take care of all your needs, what will people do? And it's like, for sure, nothing.
We'll just build cubes and
But yeah, no, I mean they wouldn't do anything. People would do nothing. They would
I have two good friends. You guys will laugh at this. I know you'll laugh at this. I have two good friends that are pretty high up in rental car companies. Anyone will tell you if you're buying a used car, never buy a fleet car from a used car or from a rental car company.
why is that?
Because people when they rent something, when they don't quote unquote own it, they abuse it like you would
Mm.
not believe. It's the red-headed stepchild. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna like they put the worst gas in it. They don't ever take care of it. When you don't own something, which is like, the wet dream of the WEF, the World Economic Forum, you
Mm.
will own nothing and like it,
Yeah.
old Klaus Schwabian, thing. You want to watch the absolute decimation of the black population was when they started to make everything free for them.
Mm.
I just did 3 podcasts in a row where I was explaining the black culture that I grew up with in South Florida. There were 13 and 14-year-old black girls that I went to school with that were being told by their mama to get pregnant because mama got an extra $800 a month.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
yeah.
100%. And then
I've
if you
seen
look
it.
at that whole like redlining thing where they wouldn't approve them mortgages and like that, like first you made sure they didn't own anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then you had created all these welfare based incentives to like, depend more and more on the
Right, but
system.
so then we're talking about a society in which all your needs are taken care of, yet
That
there
sounds
is
like it should
still
be heaven, right? But
there's
No,
still
no,
a
it's
drive.
not. It's not because this is the little season thing. I wrote this, God, in 2013. We're killed. The way the devil kills you is through convenience.
yeah,
We
I believe
started
that.
we started this conversation talking about glyphosate in this Roundup Ready stuff. The poison, and I won't even call it a chemical, the poison that is made in the millions of tons that are sold every year is this chemical of convenience. This
Yeah.
chemical is the Faustian deal. This chemical says to you, "Oh, you won't have weeds. Oh, these pesky other wildflowers, weeds. You won't have those. Oh, this will dry. We're making this convenient for you." And yet it's the thing that's actually starving you.
Yeah.
It is the Faustian promise. That's why I have this overwhelming feeling that like this little season thing is real, because I think the devil, or whatever that energy is, the adversary to human, because that's what that title meant. It was the adversary to human.
Mm.
Figured out I can't be extroverted. I have to introvert people. So what do you see with AI? AI is essentially making everybody autistic because the algorithm funnels you in your own hall of mirrors, right?
Yeah.
So people aren't sharing media anymore. And they get inundated with so much media. So you're in your isolated hall of mirrors. Your food is starving you. Your health system is there to make you ill. Like everything is an inversion. So I'm just like, when a rubber meets the road guy, it's like, okay, we used to build things better. When I look at family pictures of my family from the turn of the 20th century, all of them could have been like Abercrombie and Fitch models, square jaws. Just my dad graduated from Stranahan High School in 1963. They had 800 people in his graduating class, right? So let's say 400 of them were guys, and you saw a picture of them, and if any woman was to see a picture of that today, the women would lose their because of all the chat.
They would have literally killed me and you back in the day just for looking the way that we do. They're like, this is not healthy stock. We
These
gotta
guys are
cut these
too,
plants out. Well, they would have killed us.
too fat.
Literally, they all had 8-packs. They would all do like 100 push-ups or pull-ups. Like it
Yeah.
was the norm. It was the norm. We are not, and this is worldwide, by the way. I was under the misnomer that the United States was the great shaitan, or things were the worst of the United. No. In fact, the United States is right now is still the pinnacle. I want to put that out there for everybody. Like you guys are like, you can carry now, open carry in Florida.
Yeah.
Like that is the saving grace of the United States. But I'm letting you know everything else worldwide. That's why I have the life experience to say agriculture is totally being demeaned. Health is completely being demeaned. We're pretty much being lied to about everything, and people are being engineered to be an island unto themselves. That sounds like a little season to me.
Well, look at it this way. Okay, no, please go on.
And we have the physical evidence, literal physical evidence that the people before us did things better.
Dude,
And they did
it's not
it.
even
They
before
did
us.
it. They did it in
Topher,
an inspired way.
like the people in my family, as you're talking, I'm thinking about like the pictures of my uncles who have passed when they were younger. This is all before 86, I guess. Yeah, they were all born before them, but like thin dudes. All my family's much taller than me, which is a shame.
It's the glyphosate. Don't blame yourself.
I've stunted my growth.
Yeah.
No, but they're all tall, all thin dudes, like 6-packs and stuff.
Yeah.
They ended up just like obese. 2 of them basically ate themselves into a grave.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happened? Because
it's funny because it's hyper palatable, but it's not. It doesn't do anything for you. Look, that contrast though. What we're talking about here is you're looking at these Gothic cathedrals. It's unbelievably inspired. The labor it would take, the finances it would take, the time that it would take, and also the skill set are unbelievable to the degree that you can begin to speculate that this was inspired by the presence of Jesus Christ himself here on this earth. But in a direct inversion of that, history goes, no, the Dark Ages. They were retarded. They were disease ridden. They didn't know anything. They were basically slaves themselves. How are these uneducated people? And it's just crazy because it's weird that we even accept that on any degree, just given the evidence from the structures that still stand today, that this would have been the Dark Ages. But with a little bit of scrutinizing, if you dropped an individual who didn't have that background in the public school system, who was indoctrinated to believe that, and you said, look at this, what do you think about this? Who made this? You would go, unbelievable people made this.
Right.
Unbelievable people with an unbelievable skill set who were inspired by something that transcended what we have access to today. That's who built this. And you go, no.
Every time
they
we talk
were
about
retardeds.
we talk about the little season, I'm just left with more questions. I'm like, I hear
And
a good
that's-
argument
and that-
for.
and- It says that in the Bible. It's the God's glory to conceal a matter. This is how you weed out like who really, really is asking in earnest.
Mm.
Okay, because what I've seen, at least in my own life, what I interpret is God speaking to me. Every time I really ask God for something, the first thing I get is it's here. You just have to have the eyes to see it. It's already here. That's when biochar came to me. That's when all these things with domes came to me. It was like literally I was in earnest prayer. I was like, I just want to do your will. I just want to do your will. Like, what do you want from me? And he's like, it's here. And the thing, then I see it and it was always there. Like as a little kid, when I was 12 years old, I saw an expose on 60 Minutes about a dome being built in the Barrier Islands in North Carolina. My dad's a commercial skyscraper builder. And my dad's telling me, yeah, domes are the way to do it, right? It was always there. When you really look at it, God has always been subtly saying, this is so. This is the truth. And we know that the devil is the father of lies. Can any of us deny? I love that scene that Pacino does in The Devil's Advocate, where he goes, can anyone deny that the 20th century hasn't been all mine? Like,
Yeah.
we're literally lied to about everything.
Everything.
And you go get your fast food. They should call it Faust food, because your Faust food is a lie. You go get your yard beautification stuff. It's a lie. It will beautify your yard and give you cancer. Like everything is an effing lie.
It is weird. And every time I look at sort of there's a critical mass developing within the conspiracy community, and that critical mass is more and more people becoming expert level noticers. And as they're doing that and they're celebrating the fact that they've identified the truth, I look at it and I go, but it seems the bar for entry has been lowered substantially.
It has.
It's like they want you to come to these conclusions, but these conclusions are just slightly out of the grasp of the average dumbass. And so you feel intellectually superior for having come to them, but they're not handed to you on a silver platter, but they're still handed to you on a platter. They're handed to you. So all of these conclusions that you come to, especially the ones that are prophetic in nature, where you go, this thing looks like a fulfillment of prophecy one way or the other. I go, well, it's man-made. And then I'm forced to ask the question, well, just because a thing is man-made, does it mean that it's not real prophecy? That's something that we ask here on this show a lot. It's like,
I have no idea.
You look at famine, you look at pestilence, you look at war, you look at weather-related disasters, and you go, well, these are all
literally
all
we
man-made.
Just described how they are.
Well, yeah, it's exactly. We know how they're doing the weather modification. We know how they're generating the pestilence. We know obviously that war is
rumors of war
and rumors of, oh my God, are clearly a sham that are orchestrated by the elites, and you can make of that what you will. And then what's the last one? Pestilence. Oh, famine. And it's like, what are they doing? They're destroying the ecosystem. The crops aren't what they used to be. They're burning down farming situations.
Food factories.
They're culling herds to insane degrees. They're going to farmers and they're saying, if you don't kill your, you had that weird thing happening with the ostrich situation in, I believe it was Canada, but that's not really the best example. The best example is when they're going to these farmers in other countries that the names escape me right now because I'm geographically retarded, among other things. But, you have farmers creating like not just a picket line, like a defensive line where they're telling the government, you're not going to force us to cull our herds. And then there's other farmers who are being paid to stop their operations and turn over their land, enormous sums of money. So you look at that. And then of course we had that spring or spry, or I don't know, the spree rather, of factory farms burning down last year. Remember that? It was just like, oh, well, that just happens. A couple of years ago, they just kept burning down. And it was like, well, this sort of thing happens all the time. But when you sensationalize it, the public then becomes hyper aware and fixated on it. And so then what you have is awareness just drawing attention to, situations that would happen pretty organically all the time anyway, but now we're making a big deal about it. And I go, I don't think so. I don't think that that's the case. Like when they said that about the train derailments too, they're like, trains derail all the time, but the East Palestine situation made you really look at it every time it happened. And I'm like, I don't know, dog. Looks like these trains keep derailing. Looks like these boats keep crashing into bridges, like all of a sudden in this very short spree. So
Forget about all this stuff,
it's
right?
crazy because we're just blapped constantly with all these happenings around the world. And it becomes such that our attention span is so short and our memory is even shorter. But all of that to say, what then do you make of it when things that are in this book of prophecy can be manufactured by man, and you could have a pretty conventional explanation? Yeah, well, they're pumping microwaves into the ionosphere and somehow controlling whether or not an earthquake happens in a locality. Like, what do you do with that?
This is a crazy question.
The cool thing is, so I really believe the Bible, and what I mean by that is God says, any technology that's made to hurt you or kill you, like if you're in jurisdiction with me, that can't have an effect on you. And that's what we see. Humans are roaches. Like we're very resilient. Like if let's put it this way, if the enemy wanted us dead, we would be dead. No, let me say, if the enemy had the capacity to kill us, we would be dead. We kill ourselves, man. We choose. It's a free will universe. That's what I'm saying. Like. Only take care of your own. Go ahead and plant your own garden. Purify your own water. Pray. Have fellowship with the people around you, and then you become this nice oasis of God's creation. And then you're living the works. Then you're doing the things, because like there's always been the Huns that are about to attack, or the whatever. There's always been that. And you can't live life being like, oh, poor me.
Well, that's why the Bible says fear not so often, right? It's like fear is the big killer.
365 times.
Right. And we're in a system in which it's glaringly obvious. They want us to be afraid. You could even just look at the media and go, if it bleeds, it leads. But it's like beyond that. Like this entire realm is petitioning you to be afraid in some way, shape, or form. And you realize that when that happens, what you kind of like seize up.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, now that we're kind of on this subject, how was Beartaria? Because that's like
so good. It was so
that's the
good.
embodiment, right, of what we're talking about, of like community, of just not being afraid.
Not
like,
being afraid,
doing something that saying screw you to the people so you can't.
There was 300 kids there. 300.
Wow.
Running around, laughing. Like we built a dome there. It was awesome. In fact, we just painted it yesterday. Like the vibes were so good. And I remember what drew me to Owen like 6 years ago or so was I heard him saying he knows that the devil hates hearing kids laugh.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I was like, man, there's never been a truer statement than I've ever heard. Because you have children's laughter around you, man, and that just cleans everything. It's just like, there's nothing more holy than that, right? And what did Jesus do? Jesus protected the young. He said, if you go after the young, you might as well have a chain around or a stone around your neck and being thrown in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here to understand that there's always hope. We always have this beautiful way of passing our lineage on and just making our lineage, giving them whatever we can. We only can do what we can do. What's the saying? Perfection is the enemy of good.
Yeah.
Do your best. None of us are perfect. We're in a fallen world. Who gives an F? Like, just go for it. And there's always beauty to be had. There's always this glimmer, this shine that comes through when you're in jurisdiction with your creator, when you're with God in that way. There's always just this beauty and this love for life that comes through.
Yeah. I think more and more that's what we come to. When I was a young conspiracy theorist, I fell into that trap of like sounding the alarm. Like you've got to
Yes.
sound the alarm. Don't you guys know that this impending doom is coming? And by the way, only within my lifespan can I look back and be like, oh yeah, the impending doom was coming when I was 16 and 17 and 18 and 19 and now I'm 35, and I could still make an argument that the impending doom is still coming. And then, what you talked about earlier at the top of the show is like, yeah, previous generations also thought that the impending doom was coming. So it's like we can exist if we allow ourselves to in a constant state of the impending doom. It's coming right now. It's looming over our heads. This thing is about to happen. The moon is about to fall. They're about to rape us and put us in the FEMA camps. And it would have served people well. Think about if that's been happening for the last 70 years conservatively, it's been happening a lot longer than that. But certainly then for the last 70 years, those people would have been served better to have been filled with hope and love and working at what they can affect and building community and shaking off that paradigm of fear. And then if you look at that as it applies to the Bible, which tells you constantly to not give in to fear, it's like, yeah, fear is this joy killer, and it will, you live a life of fear and you've lived a life not worth living. You've kind of screwed up your entire life if you do that. And it took me a while to realize that. We're like, when you're young and you're going through that, my life was very like kind of destabilized, and I got kicked out of school and I was homeless for a grip, and my fear paradigm, because I thought that I was so almost holy in a way, right? Where it's like I'm living in squalor, but I'm going out of my way to take that fear kind of parasite and lean over and touch somebody with it and go, you should be afraid. Did you know? And they're like, you're eating food from a dumpster. And I'm like, but the FEMA camps, did you know about the FEMA camps? And it took a long time for me to realize like, oh, I'm simply not going to get my life going. I'm not going to start my life because you don't start, I'm a teenager when all this is happening. I never got a chance I had to put all that to bed to start. And what that required was like, okay, yeah, I know you want me to be afraid constantly, but I can't listen to that anymore. So depending on where you are in your life, that thing that they're hitting us with right now, which is like dialed up to 10, more so than ever, it will stop you in your tracks from having meaningful experiences, experiencing joy and love, building anything, which is huge. What is there to build, right? And maybe that's part of the curse. That's part of the spell. Is like, what are you doing building?
Like
dummy.
I have a couple of things here. So, I mean, Matthew 18:3-4 says, I say unto you, unless you turn and become like children, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. That's a quote from Jesus.
That's
which
interesting.
It's an interesting one, something that I think about a lot. But as we're talking about like the building blocks of society, of how these structures are made, even at the atomic level, I don't know, but I have researched a little bit of graphene. I was trying to look it up really quickly. What is the shape of
A hexagon.
It's a hexagon. So
That's
it has
interesting. Isn't that the same like a honeycomb shape?
Yeah. I wrote an article on my Substack, on Biocharisma on Substack. I wrote an article. My very first article I put up there is, I call it "Sphering the Hypercube of Reality." And the way you can think of graphene is, whenever you see the Star of Remfram, people know it as the Star of David.
Right.
If you're to draw a line connecting the points, that gives you a hexagon. That hexagon, if you connect the points on the vertical level, that gives you a hypercube. And that's exactly what graphene does. Graphene will be layers and layers that are one molecule thick, but they layer themselves like a lasagna,
isn't the cross also a hypercube?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
that in my article. You should pull that article up on Substack, because I literally
That's interesting.
I have Dolly's hypercube on there. That was the point I was trying to make in that, is that the 666 is really demonized because it is the number of carbon. And
yeah. So what is it, like 6 electrons, 6 protons, and
proton,
6
yeah.
neutrons?
Yeah, and the whole notion of that was, okay, to be a materialist, because Jesus was pretty emphatic. He said, "You're in this world, but you're not of it." So I think his message, like the message of like don't idolize, or 666 being the bane of our spiritual existence, is when we over identify with the material, because us humans we're carbon-based life forms, just like they said in the 70s Star Trek movie, like you're a carbon-based life form. We are, if we identify with the vanity of the body, if we identify with the physicality all the time, we're missing the spirit. And God
That's
is pretty
interesting too,
at it.
because it's not just identifying. It's like what happens when you start giving worship to those things,
Exactly.
right? Like
I
you
was
you idolize a man, or you idolize, like you think about paganism, and it's like, what is paganism? Paganism is worshiping creation over the creator, and I think it can kind of be whittled down to its simplest form that way. So whether it's like, wind spirits or storm spirits, or you're worshiping Mother Earth, or you're giving, prayer and things like that, even to the universe, where it's like all these kind of like new agers are like, oh, pray to the universe. Like it's like a form of worship, and you're worshiping creation. You're worshiping materia.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's the thing, that's not inspired. I know this in my own endeavors. When I'm overly identified with I'm the knower, I'm the person that knows, me.
Mm.
I can create something, but it's subpar. When I'm in that totally humble space, like you brought up the quote, if you're going to enter heaven, you have to be as a child. To be in that space, it's just like you are without the boundaries. Like it's almost like you're given genius, you're given inspiration. It's not
Yeah.
an intellectual thing, it's a heart-based thing. That's why I really feel like these structures that are pretty much indestructible, that are everywhere. Like you brought up the cathedrals earlier. The,
This is
the
this article's looking crazy so far, man.
yeah,
Subscribe to Topher's Substack I just did right now.
yeah,
Okay, well, continue. Yeah, we're gonna get into this though really quickly.
yeah, the whole notion is like, I really believe, because I was a high level athlete, just as at least one of you was. When you're
This
a
guy,
high
this
level
guy.
when you're a high level athlete, your best performances are when you weren't doing it. Like when you're in the zone, you just find yourself performing perfectly, and then in
Mhm.
retrospect you can kind of dissect it. But what gets in most athletes' way is that they're overthinking, they're over involved, they're over identified with their performance, and then they don't perform, right? You'll hear the most common mantra that most coaches say is get out of your head,
Mm.
right?
Oh
And,
yeah.
and, the, and the head is the doer. The head is the doer. These buildings that we see, and you brought up the cathedrals, you go to any state capital in the United States, and it's these same Greco-Roman buildings. These buildings, for the most part, the parts that are the old parts, not the newly renovated sides, they were inspired. This was coming from a group of people that were in the cut of inspiration. They were not
Yeah.
in the cut of being a wage slave. Like
I've
they
never
were
been on a on a like what amount of construction guys are like in the flow state. You know what I'm saying?
none.
Like you're just going through it. You can't wait to get home. You can't wait to have a couple of beers. Half of them are drinking beers on the site. I've
Right.
worked on sites where I'm like, these guys are, and it's like, yeah, this is the drudgery of having to do this thing that you've been,
Really
paid to
does.
do.
It's a strong condemnation of like illegals who are doing, like,
Dude, are you
they'll
kidding
build
me?
it. Yeah, they'll build it, but it's gonna
The
be
guys that are building the walls out here for the villages, like my cousin was contracted, and like 2 years ago he was making the trek from the Tampa Bay area to come up here, and he's like, all the guys that are driving are drinking. They're drinking while
Right.
they're driving. They're all drinking on the site. Like these are all like I have a family member that like co-owns a thing, and all the guys that he hires are all illegal, and they're all drunk as, and they're all building, the walls out here in the villages. So just something to think about, because you know, there's like this big thing like, oh, what about the labor that they do? These illegal migrants, because a lot of them were illegal.
Or what about the intention behind the labor?
And it's like they're just doing yeah, sure, they're willing to do the labor, but they're not like they're not their best. They're not sending their best. You know,
Well, I've written, and this is another thing that points to the little season to me is the only capitalism any of us have ever known is disaster capitalism. And what do I mean by that? In 1991, when Hurricane Andrew came in, it saved the South Florida economy. So people look back at it like my dad was a contractor.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
There was no construction going on. After the S&L scandal in 83 and 84, money had dried up in South Florida. Contractors were like dying on the vine. And when Hurricane Andrew hits, and it was party time because it was like a nuclear bomb went off in Miami, right? And so everybody was building, all the money came in. And what I kept seeing, the same thing happened to Katrina. I remember when Katrina hit New Orleans, I had people hitting me up because I had just been doing home renovations at the time. They're like, let's go to Louisiana. I'm like, I have family in Louisiana. I never want to go there. That place is a hellhole. And like, they're like, no, we can go make bank. And it's just like the disaster capitalism thing. Halliburton's the world's largest construction company because they get the contracts to go in and build everything after the U.S. bombs the shit out of it.
Yeah. Well, in that way, and then once you get the steering these weather fronts and they're destroying,
it's everywhere. Like, check this out. This is a theory that I'm writing about right now. It's like my latest Substack. So when I moved to Central America, they had just passed the Central American Free Trade Agreement. And the part of the Central American Free Trade Agreement was that they were trying to build this highway system from northern Canada, from the tar pits, going all the way down through the United States, down through Texas, and then down through Mexico, all the way down, making its way all the way to Panama. Because what they wanted to do is to like have people dump off their stuff in these trucks and then drive it up instead of having to have boats go through the ports, right? But Texas said, we're not having this highway system go through us. And they were calling it like the Great Corridor or something. And the Texas Senate stopped that from happening. And then you didn't hear anything about it. Well, when all this flooding starts to happen throughout the northern states, and then I'm doing consulting for this company or not the company, the government in Iowa, I'm like this area, like, is this the corridor that they were talking about? And before they were calling it, a highway, I was like, was all this just engineered for the information highway? Because now when you see what they're doing now, the planning all the way through central Texas, through Oklahoma, through western Missouri, up through Iowa, up through Minnesota, going all the way up, where they're putting all these data centers, I was like, oh, they were priming everybody for the information highway, not an actual highway. Right up the spine of the Americas, right? And so the amount of, let's just call it disaster capitalism that has to go on in agriculture to have these farmers flip their land on the cheap, because that's what they're doing. Like I'm writing bids for people in Altadena, California, where the fires had hit the LA County and everything like that. Incinerated. Dude, the disaster capitalism thing, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Well, that's what I feel like happened in like the Maui situation, right? I mean, that was the big speculation. They basically did a giant land grab.
We were supposed to do a deep dive on the Hoover Dam. That's like,
right. Yeah.
It's the same thing. They built that. They flooded, I think they flooded a whole town called St. Thomas. Very interesting. Yeah. And then you build the entire west coast of America off it, or at least, New Mexico and Vegas, the desert place that couldn't exist.
But that's the same thing. Right? Like Maui is expensive, right? Until you burn it to the ground, get it at a discount, and then move in. You had whatever was going on, these relief efforts.
Oh, they do this all the time. I mean, Hurricane Sandy, they did this to the people in the projects. They you know, it was flooded out, and then they were like, not for rent anymore. So the first 2 floors they're going to eventually privatize this entire building, which they
Yeah.
should have did to begin with. But it's it's
Mhm.
just a constant like cycling.
It was
of
like Oprah and The Rock were like the first people on the scene purchasing giant swaths of property in Maui. And it was really weird too, because if you remember, the reports that were coming out of Maui were like for some reason there was something wrong. The fire hydrants were like turned
Right.
off,
yeah.
and they were actually blocking people from leaving. Like
Mhm.
there was like police, like there's not a lot of roads in and out of that area, and there were police blockades where they were like, no, you're not leaving, and like everything's on fire, dog. What are you talking about? And then a ton of the relief related supplies that were sent to Maui were actually being blocked, and people weren't allowed to take them. And then of course whatever the hell happened to the children, like
But this is
a
the same
lot of children
story.
went missing.
It's the same story every time this happens.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
Haiti, very
Mhm.
similar situation in
North
Haiti.
Carolina, it's the same. It's literally the same thing. It's
Yeah,
always
I
like a
grew up.
weird.
So like my family, my grandparents lived in Black Mountain, North Carolina when they were alive. So I remember that's just outside of Asheville. Dude, the mountain is like I grew up running through the forest with the black bears and picking blackberries in Black Mountain, North Carolina. That whole mountain is stripped to nothing now.
Man, it's
Yeah,
Maybe
so
it's maybe it's
the disaster capitalism. So I keep trying to come at this from a non-religious perspective when I talk about the little season. All of the money, all of it, in the 100 years of modern economics that we know of is debt related. And in debt related economies, you have to do disaster capitalism. We are living in the time of the Antichrist.
Mm.
That is
That's-
antichristic.
and then,
Like
I was just gonna say, every time you see these disasters go off too, it's like the way that they're leveraged and the corruption. Like somebody in the chat, Z-Man said Puerto Rico had that warehouse full of, remember that?
It's
And they
like
literally
nothing.
had padlocks on it.
It's all if you look at it in a weird ritualistic way, nothing happens. Like, all right, so this is kind of weird, but you have a new right wing movement that's going to move America into some sort of different age. I'm thinking like Christian nationality.
Christian nationalism, some
Yeah.
sort of like
But
totalitarian
to get that,
surveillance state.
we couldn't just have propaganda to get that. There was like a blood sacrifice. There's a ritual to get that. There's somebody murdered, and then now we can move forward to that thing. If
Mhm.
you want this land grab, this stuff's got to be burned or it's got to be washed out. There has to be a sacrifice in order for things to happen. But God created life so that you could do something beautiful with your wife and create life. There's no destruction there. It's
Blap,
only blapping and giving and then creation. Right? Like you see, but do you see the opposite of
I see it.
like because we're so comfortable with like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know, in order for there to be more money. Like, yeah, I worked for contractors too. They were like, Hurricane Sandy's a blessing. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
everyone's
interesting.
yeah, all these poor people are getting kicked out. Everyone's done, and we're gonna be able to rebuild here and money.
So we live in a thing that's like order out of chaos, or maybe better described as like creation out of destruction. Whereas that's
Yeah,
not what's
constant.
happening with the blappening. It's like it's love. It's creation out of love.
Well, sometimes. I mean,
Sometimes, yeah. Well, ideally, but then you look at like what we're exposed to, and it's like we very rarely create things out of love. You know, those Gothic cathedrals, those were created out of something much more akin to love. But here, we only create things out of destruction. You know, in this day and age, it's like catastrophe has to happen in order for us to mobilize.
I also don't know how to square that with like the sacrifice of Jesus, right? So if like the entire religion of Christianity is based on he had to die for like because this is a sacrifice.
his body, but like, he didn't, like, his whole point was he didn't die. His whole point was you're in this world but not of it. He died and then was resurrected because he is the embodied spirit. He was showing us, like, look, guys, because look, I'm somebody that died physically and came back. My best friend is somebody that died and came back.
What happened?
Yeah, what do you mean?
What are you talking about?
I had, when I was a little kid, I had, I guess you could call it an extreme allergic reaction where I choked out and flatlined.
Damn.
Well, did you see anything?
Yeah. I saw the pearly gates. I saw this chorus of angels in like in what would the best would be to say is like sunset colors in South Florida, like the really
Ooh.
beautiful corals and purples and things like that. And I was in pure like just like liquid love. Like I was just, it was the first time in my life I wasn't in pain, because when I was a little kid I was in a lot of pain. And I heard my guardian angel. I didn't see her, but I heard her. And she was like, "It's not your time." And I came back.
Huh. That's interesting. You heard her. What did she sound like?
She sounded like an older woman. And I ended up over the years finding out that that was actually my great grandmother who died before I was ever born. But she was like one of my guardian spirits that was like there for me. She actually directed me to come back because I wasn't going to come back. I was quite happy staying in that space.
That's something.
So
So on this show, we're like hyper skeptical of interacting with anything in the spirit that's not like Jesus or Holy Spirit, like something like that. And this idea of like guardian spirits, guardian angels, all these different things are
That's
something
biblical.
It's biblical, I know, but it's something that we don't touch on the show a lot. And I wonder because every time somebody talks about like interacting with something, we're like, what are you interacting
well,
with, dog?
I agree with you because I was 10 years in the ayahuasca community, and I know for a fact a lot of those spirits are they're like they are of the devil. They are of that which would pull you into the abyss. But
Right.
for as many of those that there are, there's also the good there.
I wonder if
There's
there's
also
even more because you think about,
Yeah, well, there is this. I mean, supposedly 2/3, but
well,
who
that's the
knows?
angels. 2/3 are remaining, 1/3 has fallen. Let's say if that is the number and that's accurate. But then they have all these offspring and creatures, Nephilim, they all died. Who knows what the number on that is? But
That's true.
I do wonder about that because I think we don't give that enough attention. And I would
right.
like to. I would like to.
No, it's something like my best friend, he was shot to death. He was in a like he got shot. I think he had 6 bullets in him when he was 16.
Jeez.
And he was on the other side and he came back. And I've spoken to quite a few. They call it a different term now. They used to call it like near death experience. Now I think they're calling it a near life experience. I don't know.
Hmm.
But I just listened to this gentleman that was talking about people having both the positive and the negative side of it, where they had like the full life review. When it happened to me, I was such a little kid. I had a 4-year-old consciousness,
Hmm.
and biblically all the kids go to heaven. Like you haven't done anything to you don't have the conscious wherewithal to really have free will, so
Right.
I was in that cut of like just being blessed enough to see heaven and feel feel it, like really feel the love of the Father, like. And it's something that anyone who's experienced it has no fear of death, none, zero, like
Hmm.
none, across the
That's
board.
interesting. When I was younger, I tell this story pretty often on the show, but I heard like a woman's voice, and I was really little. I was like maybe like 4 or 5, and I just remember that I didn't associate her with being menacing. I was like going through some weird crap. My aunt told me to go get something for her, and she's schizophrenic, so I think the request was a little bit outlandish, but it was a
Mhm.
silverware drawer. And I went and got the silverware drawer, and you know how that is. Like you gotta kind of like wiggle a silverware drawer out, and I
Yeah.
go and bring this thing to her. It's filled with silverware. And as I'm walking down the hallway, this woman says, he's gonna drop it. And then all of a sudden, everything goes kind of twists and I get vertigo and then I drop it and the sound snaps me out of it and it's like this whole thing. But I remember her voice And I still don't associate it. I've never associated it with like a negative. She sounded like a nice woman. And it's just weird because I never knew what to make of that. Like I never heard another disembodied voice again. From that event, I was quite scared that when I got older, I was going to like develop schizophrenia, knowing that my aunt who was there for that event had it. But it was not a menacing voice. It was not a negative one. It didn't feel evil. It did. And I always wondered, like, what the hell was that voice? Very interesting. So when you say that you had like this, that's why I asked, what did it sound like? Because I'm always fascinated. I think the impressions that you get in these spiritual moments count for a lot. It's like you don't have tangible evidence, but like, what did you feel like? What was this thing that you intuited about the moment? What was the impression that you got from it? So that's why I asked the sound. I don't know. I would love to figure out a way, like, to do a deep dive on this idea of like guardian spirits, guardian angels. We talk a lot about familiars, negative spirits masquerading as loved ones, deceased loved ones, all kinds of stuff like that. But what about the good side? Something that I hope we can visit soon.
I've heard and seen both sides of it. So I'm not naive to the negative demonic side. I've had full on encounters with the demonic. And I think the more you give your life to God, the more you're actually going to encounter the demonic side.
Yeah.
It's just like when you're fully bought into let's just call, you're fully bought into the ruler of this world's machinations. You're already in the cut. They don't really, the whispers have already worked on you, right? But it's the people that have dignity. Because the one thing I've seen about everybody that actually does have jurisdiction with their creator, they have dignity. And that's the one thing the devil wants you to choose to take away from yourself. Like when you choose vice, when you choose all these things and not virtue, you're choosing not to be dignified. You're choosing to lose your inheritance. And when you lose your inheritance, when you lose your dignity, you lose that connection, the throughput line with your creator.
Yeah.
Everybody that I know that loves God and loves humankind and is acting in service for humankind, they all have dignity. They're not doing it for themselves. In fact, they're actually putting themselves out, kind of out there on a hook in a way when they do that.
Yeah. You want to talk about losing dignity and self-worth. Acumen Spice Syndicate says they getting dudes to chop off their dignity. And it's like, yeah, so you look at that through whatever lens you want, but you want to talk about self-worth and dignity being gone. It's a remarkable thing when somebody can, we're talking about detransitioning or being trans. When these people detransition, that's an unbelievable feat to come back from that. People that have actually. Oh, we're back. Are the demons don't like when we say this. But on the light end, we're talking about like hormone therapy, and on the heavy end, and of course, like dressing like the opposite sex. On the heavy end, we're talking mutilation. It just is, they're making penises, or what do you want to call them, that out of the forearms of an individual. You got this stark reminder, not only on your arm, but on your your pelvic. You got this monstrosity down there, and then these people detransition, they come back, and it's like, dude, self-worth, dignity, these things must be a constant battle for the rest of, they're a constant battle for everybody, I would say.
This is like it. I guess what drew you to Owen was like something different for me, but I think now that we're mentioning this idea, this word dignity, that's what I think that he embodies, because I've seen him many times say it's when you have the ability to take something that is not necessarily earned by you and like take the deal. And I've seen him do it a bunch of times where he's just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that thing. And I'm like, that's what I like. I have to strive for when I'm offered something that is expedient, the ability to say, no, that's not for me. I'm going to keep going, even in the face of like mockery and stuff. That's like, to maintain that is it's not, I don't know if godlike is the right word, but that is like it's the striving to be like God. I feel like that's like one of these very important aspects. And once you lose that, once you take that deal, there's going to be something missing from you.
Definitely. Yeah, we need our spiritual punyas, our power, our connection to God. Yeah, the word punya, it's a
Okay, I was
Hindi
like-
it's a Hindi word. I for God for like 8 years, I was studying essentially Vedanta Advaita, which is like the path of non-duality. And after I studied that, I came back to Christianity because the one throughput line that I saw with all the Eastern religions was they call it the impersonal life. And what I saw in living in those countries where people were dehumanized to a level you wouldn't believe. It was like so communistic and disgusting
Yeah.
that
And
I
then
was
a
like,
caste system.
yeah. And I was like, this obviously isn't God's way. Like it's gross. Like
Yeah, you just look at the fruits.
there's nothing dignified by it. And then I started to come back into Christianity because it's very specific that God made you specifically the way you are and has a personal connection to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the exact opposite of the dehumanization campaign. Why do you think the Rockefellers and the Carnegies loved the Chinese, everything to deal with the Chinese culture when it came to their industrialization? Because
Yep.
it's impersonal dehumanization. Everybody's just a cog in a machine. That's their
It's
wet dream.
it's weird too because that system, you know, like you could just see that, like let's say you work in a factory production line, and there's definitely something to be said about creating, but you can remove the creative aspect of that and just have people be cogs in a machine. I've been there before, and it's like everything in you screams, get the hell out of this. And I would say
Yes.
that it was soul crushing, and people got really upset about that, including an uncle was a mentor of mine who I looked up to very much.
Oh, that was actually after our last episode. Yeah,
Yes.
I got a couple of comments of people being like, "Hey, like you for saying that," and I'm just like you're not arguing with what I said. You're arguing at yourself because like we just uncovered a truth.
that something is, you know, it hurts you a little bit.
It hurt me too. Like when I was in it.
You've been there, I've been there, you know, and I don't know. It's you know what it is. It's when you put that aside and you figure out a way to succeed within that system, that can be to your detriment. And I'm blessed that I got pretty close to figuring out how to succeed. I was succeeding within that system. I kind of just had to get myself to the top of it. You know what I mean? And not be one of the cogs in the machine, but you still are. You're just a different shape cog. I know what you have pulled up over there, and I want to get to this, but I want to ask Topher an important question before we go. It's a very short question.
Yeah.
Is it rock, paper, scissors, shoot
Oh God.
for you? Like, is that it? Is it
What is it?
Is it rock, paper, scissors, shoot?
When you're playing the game?
I always end with paper.
No. But I'm saying, like,
Wait,
how
so
do you
he goes rock, scissors, paper?
No. That's insane. What?
Yeah, it's different everywhere.
Nobody,
It's crazy.
just because of what you just said, nobody ever sees it coming.
No. When you say it, like if you and I were gonna, and we had our hands on our palms,
Yeah,
and
we're
we were
gonna
gonna do
play.
it, say it, and then throw a symbol.
Yeah, how would you play it?
Oh, I've been doing it up like guys, I'm a true Sigma. Like I don't follow any rules. So like I don't know what the norm is. I'm not the person to ask.
But what is it? So what do you do then?
When I play with my daughter, we're usually making stuff up because neither of us know the real thing.
There's only 3 things, Topher. It's rock,
Nah.
or it's paper, or it's scissor. You go like
Right.
this. You go rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Right? Is that how you do it?
No, actually, we don't even play the game right.
I love it.
Corey Pori Poe. Okay, let's.
He's so off because we're realizing everyone does it different. This is like a weird cultural thing. We can't agree.
Yeah.
Because you know what it is in one of the most godforsaken plots of land on the planet, New York. What they do is they go rock, paper, scissors, says, shoot, which is what?
Says.
Oh, that
Yeah, they
that
says.
sounds right. That sounds wrong. That's like that sounds wrong.
Okay, that's good. But we still think
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I still like Corey Pori Poe.
It sounds premature. Rock, paper, scissors, and then we're just gonna just gonna
Well, no,
go.
that's like it's like saying like if you were starting at a finish line, and you're going to start a race and you go 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, maybe you can make an argument for 1, 2, 3, but you certainly can't make an argument for 1, 2, 3 and go.
We're not going to agree here.
That's retarded. Let's bring this up. I want to see what we got here, because we've got some cross cube symbolism, and I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit. I don't know if you have a lot of opinions on it, but it is obvious to me that the cube applies to the cross in a bunch of different ways. This imagery is something that is really interesting.
This is Dolly's Hypercube. And so whenever you take a box, like the next time you guys get a box from Amazon, if you were to open it up, it gives you 6 sides, because a cube has 6 sides, right?
Yeah.
And so what Dolly was doing in this, like the way I interpret it, I'm not an art scholar by any means, but the way I interpret this is Jesus transcends materiality, and the cube, like we were talking about earlier, the hypercube is carbon. So carbon is what actually makes us material. And so what a person could say is like the chains that binds our spirit. You had lots of Gnostic thought in, around Christ's time, was like, we're bound. You hear this a lot of times in Nouveau Gnostics, where they're like, oh, we're bound here. Oh, and they want to astral travel and all this type of stuff. That boundary is that they haven't come to revel in God's timing. We don't know what's best for us. We don't. We think we know what's best for us, but we have such a limited scope. And God puts each one of us, he has a personal relationship with us. He knows what our soul needs. And so he puts us in situations where we don't know. And that not knowing, if you've ever talked to a control freak, the thing that they hate the most is not knowing.
That's interesting.
So all people are ever bound by is their not knowing. If you think about it, which is the carbon matrix, you will not know the day or the time. You don't know. And when you start to come into that realization, you start to relax, because Jesus also said, God is the peaceth that passeth all understanding. Or
that's
peace.
Interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So think about it. The intellect is never at peace. The intellect needs to strategize. It needs to know. Oh, and it's always this pride thing. Well, pride was the very first, sin. Pride was a heavenly sin. It happened in heaven and then transgressed onto earth. Okay? We don't know. We don't know what's best for us. I really try and bring this to like the people that are closest to me in life, is I'm like, the best thing in your life has always been a surprise. When you get what it is that you strategized for, it's always kind of a letdown. But when something comes out of left field, like this conversation that we're having is brilliant. You guys earlier today, and even me, I had no idea where this conversation was going to go. But because we're living men in Christ, this conversation comes to this, and it's fucking power. It's like juice, right? You don't ever know. You can't predict when the juice comes. You can't predict when the presence of the Holy Spirit is there. You can't predict it. You do not know what's best for you.
Maybe Can I use the best an analogy that I think actually is a great way.
Well, let me use an analogy. I'm going to use a better one.
Okay,
I have the best analogy.
Go ahead, stupid. Sorry, I'm sorry.
This is not a
No, it's fine. I take it back.
It's a good analogy.
Okay.
In Leesburg, we were trying to build.
You're going to say
in Leesburg, we were trying to build a studio above a coffee shop.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's a good analogy.
Just cracking away, and when it falls apart, we put it together and struggle. You know how it is. Like you're like, I feel like we should. Like the intellect says, this is the thing to do. Like because logistically, you're like, oh, the coffee shop. This like right above it makes a lot of sense. And there's like, yeah, do
across the street from this awesome theater,
and it all falls apart.
Yep.
Right.
Like for no reason. And then my wife's like, let's try.
My wife.
let's go to this coffee shop, and we go in there, and just like complete random relationship with the guy that's there, to the point where like after this, I'm gonna go back over there because he's like, yo, build a podcast studio here.
Yeah.
In this coffee shop. And I was like, I don't know.
But he's
explain
about it. Like he's
I'm not like, it's not that I want to do that. Like we just had an argument over there because he was like, I feel like I'm forcing you to do this. And I'm like, no, it's just I don't want to intrude.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't understand how bizarre this is, that like we were doing this thing. We were trying to put these pieces together and they fall apart.
And what did I say? It's like God was like,
not your time, not this place. It was like
close,
stupid,
but not quite.
Yeah, and then it just happens away because you can like, well, what I continue to do is just like, all right, like close the door if it doesn't work, and he closes the door. And I think this is a perfect example of what you were just describing of like, yeah, if you're just like listening, it'll do what it's supposed to do.
Well, my analogy is not as cool
or as relevant,
but I think it's still worth saying. Which is, if you look at the state of like dating right now, and I always look at it and I go, thank God I'm married. I wouldn't want anything to do with this. But a lot of what plagues these people are these expectations. Like you're planning, you no longer look at your spouse as being a divine intervention into your life. Instead, you look at them as like an equation and you go, well, they need to be this, they need to be that. For women, it's very much like needs to make this much money, needs to be this tall, needs to have these things in order in their life, needs to have this ideology and feel this way about this political thing. And then what that ends up is perpetual single. You're not finding anybody.
Yeah.
This component, I always say I was made better exponentially by my wife. My wife was a monumental component to my life.
She literally picked you out of the trash.
Literally. She found me. She was like, who's eating this donut?
Dude is homeless.
Dumpster diver.
Yeah. And so
I think I picked him out of the trash too. He wasn't necessarily homeless.
Yeah, but I was in the trash.
But I was like, this guy kind of sucks, but I think he's good.
Everybody just keeps coming along and they're like, this guy's got potential. You got to shake the dumpster off me first. And he goes, he smells a little weird. Maybe we can do something with him. But if that's true for me, and I see it being true for a lot of other people, my spouse, the introduction of my child into my life changed the way I fundamentally saw the world, gave me purpose and drive, and now all things flow down from them, right? The things that I build, the things that I pursue, I was certainly not before I met my wife, and then it was exponentially made more so after the birth of my son. I attribute that to God. God put these elements in my life. These are things that I needed, and I could have never planned for them. So why then are people going into the dating pool and creating all these parameters that an individual has to adhere to in order to fit the bill and be the ideal spouse for you? You don't know what's good for you. You don't know what you need. And the things that you think that you need, that you're creating in your mind a system to which another individual has to be beholden to, are not going to be the things that you think you need 10 years from now. So why at all try to put your hands on the controls of something that I think is akin to divine intervention? And you look at the state of dating right now, and everyone unanimously who's in it goes, it's miserable. And it's like, well, stop then. Stop trying to control this thing. Stop trying to intellectualize this person that isn't even in your life yet, that doesn't exist. You don't know who they are, but you got in your mind what they look like, what they do, what they're about. Like, that's retarded, so retarded, but it is prolific.
And conversely, you'll have, I mean, I have at least a dozen examples of this in my life. The people that say, I'm done dating.
God.
I'm done. When they say that, they meet the love of their life.
Yeah. But that's a hilarious thing. It's like you have somebody, let's say, who's burned, right, by a previous lover, and they go, I'm done with women. Women are all this. Or like, I'm done with men. Men are all this. You have sampled the smallest percentage
Right.
of the population of the earth, and you think that it is representation
It's
of
Nephilim dating
it
squad.
is but it's something that I look at and I go, because I have friends that are still single, and I go, well, what's going on, man? What are you doing? And they go, oh, well, women are just, they want too much, they expect this and that. I'm like, you're looking at women on the internet and going, this is women. Or you're looking at your ex and going, this is women. And it's like, you couldn't be more wrong. The person that I was with before my wife was a miserable relationship. She cheated on me. I cheated on her. The whole thing fell apart. And I could have said, that was a terrible experience. Women are all cheating whores. Instead, I took accountability. I said, it takes two to tango. I played my role. She played her role. We learned a lot. Go your way. I'll go my way. Almost immediately after that, meet my wife, and we're married for a decade now. Or I could have been in the wrong mindset, and I could.
I think you're right, David. I think what happened here is that I nailed the analogy, and then
I bought a lesser one.
Yeah,
it
was not as
you're
good.
Probably right. You're probably right.
But we'll let the people judge. They'll tell us
All right.
in the comments. They'll be like, yeah, I mean, back to back, right? It's like a comparison. Like, which one's.
Well, you know what, man? This is a Christian show.
What I've seen is the control freaks in my life are miserable. And the control freaks are always doing a tit for tat. They always have a ledger. And because they have the tit for tat and they have the ledger, love isn't on a ledger. And I end up consulting a lot of people in relationships because of my professions. Because when you're building a house, you're usually building a house for couples. And when you massage people, you're usually massaging people that are coupled. And the one thing I tell everybody that asks about, whether or not there's love in the relationship, I immediately just ask the question, do you have them on a ledger? And they're like, I'm like, because when it's love, there's always enough energy. There's always enough energy. When it's not love, it's a tit for tat. There's like, there's an exchange. It's a business transaction.
Yep.
And so love doesn't profiteer. Love is in service. And there's always energy in that. And it's been very helpful, especially to a lot of young men that I work with, because they don't have a lot of dating experience, this younger generation.
Yeah.
And because they don't have
they're perpetually online.
So it's just one of those things. And yeah, you just kind of like when you're with somebody where it's not a ledger and you just feel like you're completely a service, and then all the other attributes, blah, 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 then you're in the cut. You know that you should actually lay some roots.
Yeah. I want to ask you one more question, going back to that idea of like the hypercube and the cross. Do you think it's significant at all? Because a lot of people will go, the cube is present in all of these different religions.
Well, he has, the first picture here is the black cube at
the
Mecca.
Black cube at Mecca, right?
This is the World Trade Center.
Which is also it's a cube in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering here, because obviously it's not lost on me that a cross is an unfolded cube, but isn't it also significant that it's not being presented as an enclosed cube, but rather one that's been open?
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally I'm not really into the Catholic thing. The more I learn about history and stuff like that, and the historicity of the Catholic Church, they're really the ones that promoted the crucifix. And to me, that's an inversion, because the whole point is that he transcended the body, and he transcended it to show us, like he saved us by showing us. He's like, literally,
it might actually be better to have
like literally what I have done. And what's like, it's like literally you're not to have any idols. You know how many like Catholics I was around in the Central America where the cross, the crucifix was their idol? And it's just like, no. You're not to do an image and likeness. You're not, like, none of that. Like literally, when you're in jurisdiction with your creator, when you're actually living the word, you're not beholden to these physical things. You're definitely not beholden to some building called a church. You're not beholden to a trinket called a crucifix. You're not beholden to the carbon of it all, the physical of it all.
Oh, that's
Because
interesting.
it was just like when you were in the zone as an athlete, when you were completely being sponsored by God right then. Were you actually thinking about the physical thing that you were doing? No. Did you have any identity while you were doing it? No, because God was moving through you at that time.
Hmm.
And people can live that way. You can live in the zone. You can live in that space where you're in that inspired space and things just happen. And the more that things just happen, the more you realize that you're in the will of the creator. I mean, when I always bring up Jesus just because I think he was the pinnacle, is just like, when the disciples asked him, "How do we pray?" He gave them the Lord's Prayer. And what is it? What is he saying? He's literally saying, "Okay, our Father."
Mhm.
He's not saying my Father, he's saying our Father. And then like as you go through the prayer, he's like, "Your will be done."
Right.
That is the zone. When you're in the zone, it's like you're in his will. So you're at your highest potential. You're potentiated by that. You're not potentiated by the strategizer, the intellect, or the
Mm.
ego, or the internal narcissist. That's not what's happening. When the internal narcissist or the strategizer does come into it, it usually mucks up the works.
Yeah.
I think you would have a great conversation with we haven't had him on in a while. This guy, John Lenhart. He
Oh yeah,
has
that's right.
a program called Flowcess, but he's talking exactly what you're talking about, where it's
Mm.
like, how do you achieve that state of flow of whatever is going on, where your spirit is connected and your brain is turned off.
Mhm.
Athletes, musicians, writers,
Mhm.
construction, whatever it may be. We're gonna have him back on soon. I reached out to him, but that would be, yeah, man. That's just a concept that I continue to unfold and really think about, and I like that idea of uh the cross being this it is the symbol of the carbon, the constriction in which we put ourselves in. It's like, well, why do we put that? Every church will have it. Even like it's a symbol. It's a powerful symbol.
It almost seems like a more powerful symbol would have been like an empty tomb, but I guess you can't really
Yeah.
like create a little symbol of that. But that,
Right.
because that is like
Right.
the part that gets lost a little bit. It's like Jesus Christ died for our sins to create a way, but then it's like, and then he overcame death, dude. And when they came looking for him, he wasn't in the tomb. Like
Well,
that is
that's why I like the Vesica Pisces, and we have to end on this because I have a plane to catch.
yes, yeah.
Yes, please.
So we started off this whole conversation talking about Pisces and like how like the time that we're in is like the time of semi-permeability, where everything is kind of blending together, and that's a
Mhm.
very Piscean trait. Well, the one symbol of Jesus or the Christianity that I really like is the Vesica Pisces. The Vesica Pisces is when you take two circles and you overlap them at the radius, and it creates something very similar to a yoni, to like a vagina, right? But that, if you split that in half, that's called a lancet arch, and you see that on almost every cathedral that there is. You see these
Yes.
lancet arches, and that whole thing of the Vesica Pisces is one in a very interesting way. It's like showing you, okay, what's that saying where they say the way through is like the way through? Like the only way to get through is to like, actually
Go
like
through it.
to go through it, to experience it. No matter what, if you're here, you came through a yoni.
Right.
Right? You came through it, you're in it now. There's nothing you can do. You can't undo that. You can't unalive yourself and think that you're not going to come back and redo it all over again. You're in it now. Now it's about learning to be okay with not knowing. The only reason why people don't like materiality is because they're insecure about insecure through their intellect.
Mm.
They think if they know, they are secure. You are not secure through knowing. You're only secure through service. There's two paths. There's the path of the intellect and there's the path of the heart. When you take the path of the heart, you're taking the path of Jesus. You're washing people's feet. You're of service to humanity. You love your brother like you love yourself. You love God with all your heart. You're doing that. That's God's work. As you've had Brian of Demon Erasers on, it's like the law is written on your heart now. Each one of us knows exactly what we need to do to be right with God. You do that, you be of service, you love your brother, and everything takes care of itself. When you become the control freak, when you become the person that's always looking at the ledger, always in their head thinking that they know better, you're already in hell. You know, you're already experiencing a level of hell that most people won't even admit that they're in.
Yeah.
And there's also, we'll end right now, but there's also the idea of the sigil or the symbol of Lucifer being the diagram of the eye. So it's like believe without seeing. You're like, if you're using your eyes to see, you're constantly like it's like if you're doing music and you're just doing theory, you're not actually, you're not really interacting with the music. You're just doing this thing that you can see and physically try to understand, but you're not getting it.
Yeah.
It's there,
Right.
but you're not touching it. And that's like the superficial level of everything.
That's where I said in an episode recently where it's like I feel.
All right, but we got to end though.
Yeah.
He's got to go on a plane.
Okay. Like I'm okay with saying I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten to this point now where it's like all of this information almost doesn't do me any good. It's just really messy. And I've got so much crap going on. And if you came to me and asked for some so profound information, I probably wouldn't have to give you. I'd go, I don't know, dude. I don't really know.
That's a great place to be. That's humility. That's a great place to be. Because that's literally, I think we all have to go through that. Like the prodigal son is all of our stories. All of us like get to this point of pride here and we think we got our and all this stuff. And we think we know that we get humbled by life. And then we come back to the Father and we're so happy that he takes us back. Because it's just like, oh my God, I was such an idiot. And every stage of your life, you look back and like, oh my God, I can't believe I thought that.
That's a cautionary thing. Lean not on your own understanding because you suck.
Right.
All right, we got to get Topher out of here. If he misses his flight, I'm going to be distraught. But
thank you,
man,
brother. This is an awesome conversation.
Thanks for throwing the pearls to us
before you go to the actual intellects. Yeah. Thank you.
No,
man.
you guys
Always
are
good
great.
talking to you.
I appreciate, I really appreciate your show. You always make me laugh. So I'm into it.
At least there's that.
At least the lowest level of entertainment. But yes, we thank you.
Our
Topher.
cup is empty.
Tell them where they can find you again, and we'll get you on your plane.
Yeah, I'm Biocharisma on all the social media stuff. If you guys want to inquire about biochar, you can go to my website, topherhq.com. My podcast is on there too. And also, you can email me at info@topherhq.com. I'm always fielding questions about construction and consulting and all the rest of it.
Awesome.
That's right. And check him out also tomorrow. I think this is tonight and tomorrow. The next day, it looks like, I don't know what day it is today. He's going to be doing a seminar.
You got a busy day, Topher.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Jeez,
and
thank you.
Yeah. It was great to be with you guys.
Absolutely.
You too, man.
Thanks for
Always
taking
a
the
pleasure.
time, man. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Enjoy your week. Obey, submit, and comply.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real.
You can persuade them that what they see with their eyes is what there is to see. You can't. Because they'll laugh in the face of an explanation that portrays the bigger picture.